Many thanks to viewer Anna Fender, who asked, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on OpenAI, ChatGPT, and whether its use by students can be considered cheating. Well, everyone and their dog is talking about ChatGPT nowadays and how it is disrupting higher education. So here is the view from a university professor. Welcome to Frank Staiano Explains. I'm a professor of computer science at the University of Cambridge, and these are my own views, not an official statement from the University of Cambridge or from Trinity College. If you've been living under a rock, ChatGPT is a piece of artificial intelligence software that answers questions in a way that resembles pretty convincingly the kind of prose that a human being would write. It's better than any mainstream system that we've seen up to now. People have tried it on university exam questions, and it has been widely reported that its answers would have reached the passing grade in at least business, law, and medicine. I've tried it on a few of my own computer science exam questions from previous years, and I must admit I have been thoroughly impressed. On Bookwork style questions, which were intended for closed book exams, it gave textbook quality answers that would have got full marks, which was perhaps not too surprising. But even in questions that required putting the theory into practice on specific computing problems, he gave surprisingly plausible answers. There were occasional mistakes, but they were embedded in the kind of prose that a reasonably competent and eloquent student of my course might have written, with observations that would have made me award at least some marks because, at least I got that part right. The chatbot performed substantially better than I expected. So I find Anna's question intellectually interesting because, on the one hand, the answer is obvious. Yes, unattributed use of ChatGPT by students is obviously cheating. But on the other hand, this chatbot is technology that's here to stay. We'll all be using it daily anyway in due course, just like today we all use a search engine. So how can those stupid professors call it cheating? Are they just old dinosaurs who are afraid of change? Wouldn't it be better for them to embrace the new world and adapt to it? In my view, whether a chatbot is cheating or not depends on what one uses it for. As I said, we only use Google many times a day. Is that cheating? Most of the time, no. It's a convenient way of accessing the wealth of information that other people have kindly put up on the web. But in some situations, for example, if I were a contestant in a TV quiz and I were offered £1 million for being able to name the capital of Farbakistan or the atomic number of beryllium, then looking up the answer through Google would of course be cheating, especially if I did it surreptitiously and yet pretended that I came up with the answer myself. So in a context where you are rated, graded, or in any way rewarded on the basis of your intellectual performance, and other people who are graded on the same scale are not using the chatbot, then it's obviously cheating, like using a performance-enhancing drug, or entering a race with a bike that has a hidden electric motor. On the other hand, if you want to learn, for example, Huffman coding, and instead of reading a reputable textbook, you prefer to search the web for Huffman coding, fine, suit yourself. It'll be up to you to figure out which web pages are accurate and trustworthy, but fine. If instead of searching the web, you ask a chatbot, which basically has searched the web before you and spits out its own summary, that's also fine. Again, up to you to figure out if the response you get is actually correct. But fine, if you prefer to learn that way rather than from a book or lecture, go ahead. That's a use of chatbot that is not cheating. If you take a step back, what's the point of going to university? Ideally, to learn something. And perhaps more importantly, to learn something at the meta level, to learn not just factual topics such as geometry or history or computer science, but to learn how to learn new things, to learn how to express yourself coherently, to learn how to manage your time in the face of conflicting deadlines, and so forth. And why do you do homework at university? Prepare for this shock, but almost anything you're asked to produce during your undergraduate degree, whether it's an essay on wheat consumption in Eastern Europe or a problem on calculating the cross-section of the beams of a suspension bridge, is in fact absolutely irrelevant. Nobody is going to have any practical use for your output. Sorry. The reason you're asked to produce it is not because it's valuable in itself, but because we are offering you an opportunity to practice, to flex your intellectual muscles. It's like going to the gym and lifting weights. Okay, it's a totally pointless activity in itself, lifting the weights. Nobody benefits from the weights being at a higher position, as proved by the fact that you immediately put them back down. But you do it not to place the weights up there, but to train and strengthen your muscles. At university, it's the same. You don't answer those questions because your answers matter to anyone, at least at undergraduate level, but because this prepares you for solving real problems later. So if you let the chatbot produce the answer, or even just produce most of the answer, and then all you do is some final massaging and putting the cherry on top, then you are robbing yourself of your precious university education, of the chance you have in those special 3 years to practice becoming good at problem solving and expressing your ideas coherently. Unfortunately, there is also a less noble reason why people go to university, and it's not to learn something, but to get a degree. The degree is a certificate that says you're good, and this opens doors. Other people will trust the certificate, relying on the reputation of the issuing university, and will just take it at face value. They'll ask you to get at least a 2-1 if you want to get this job. And say, oh, you got a first. Impressive. Oh, you have a degree from Cambridge. Even more impressive. Oh, you have a PhD. You must be very intelligent. I don't think it's necessarily the correct inference to make, but people make it. Seeing that certificate is a shorthand for them. It saves them having to do the hard work of figuring out for themselves how intelligent or competent or knowledgeable you actually are. So there are quite a few people who go to university with a main goal of getting that certificate. And actually, learning is only a secondary concern for them. And of course, some proportion of those people will try to get the certificate without doing the corresponding work for it, either because they can't be bothered or because they're not even capable. But they still want the certificate to say great things about them. And that is called cheating, whether you do it with the chatbot or by any other means. Now, a counter-argument that I sometimes hear is that the format of closed book exams is wrong, and it's pointless, and it's obsolete, because in the real world, when you are, for example, employed as a software developer, for an example from my field, then you can look things up in as many books as you like, you can search the web as much as you like, you can ask for help in a news forum or on Stack Overflow and so forth. So why should you not be allowed to do the same during the exam? Well, because if the test is supposed to give you a grade and ultimately a certificate that you can then present to third parties as a measurement of your worth, then it should measure just you, without all these confounding factors. It should measure whether you have enough brains to come up with a solution to this problem, not whether you are sufficiently resourceful to dig out the solution that a smarter person came up with. If I'm the employer of that software developer, of course I care that they can produce a program that solves the problem, and if they know how to ask on Stack Overflow, then I prefer them over someone who just gets stuck and does nothing. But if I have to choose between that person and the other person who would have been giving them the correct answer on Stack Overflow, I know which one I'd rather have in my team. They can both solve the problem, all right, but the second one is probably 20 times more productive, a 20 times better programmer. And it's rather uninformative to me as the prospective employer if the diploma they get gives them both top marks because they could both solve the problem one way or another. As the person who relies on that certification, I'd like it to be more specific and distinguish between being able to do it and being able to do it on their own. Otherwise, it's like a bodybuilding competition where the judges must check the bodybuilders for who's in the best physical shape, but they must judge them not in swimsuits where you can actually see each muscle and so on, but covered head to toe in thick winter clothes, as if they were going to Antarctica. That would be crazy, right? What's the point of obfuscating and confounding and hiding the very thing that you are trying to measure? Things would be much simpler if students came to university just to learn, and universities just provided instruction, but didn't issue degrees or grades to anyone. However, if we have to issue grades, they have to be fair and accurate. If instead of university you talk of a gym, a reputable gym should not issue a diploma saying this person can lift 100 kilos without clarifying that he could only do it with a forklift. There should be a clear distinction between he can lift 100 kilos unaided and he can lift 100 kilos if he uses a forklift. And of course, one of these two diplomas is going to be worth a lot less than the other, provided people see the difference clearly. If you went to meet the surgeon who's going to do brain surgery on you next week, and you saw a diploma of medical specialization in surgery on her wall that said she graduated with top marks, would you feel more confident if she had got these top marks in a closed book exam or in an open book exam or even in an exam where she was allowed to use a chatbot to write their essay or answer? Those who wish to use ChatGPT to produce content and pass it on as their own should always ask themselves how happy they'd be to consume content that was produced by a chatbot rather than by a human being. For example, to stay in the medical domain, imagine that when you call your doctor for an appointment, you could only speak with a chatbot, and only in the 1% of cases that look awfully serious, then the chatbot would put you through to an actual human doctor. And actually, we are not too far from that scenario in the UK now with the current tragic situation of the underfunded and understaffed National Health Service, but that's by the way. So how would you like that? Or here's another example. Since I have a PhD in computer science, I can't help but thinking recursively. Right now, I'm filming this YouTube video. And as you can imagine, preparing a video is a rather time-consuming endeavor. So what if I prepare my YouTube videos, not by researching them myself and writing down my own thoughts, but by asking ChatGPT? And I know for a fact that there are now quite a few YouTubers who are doing that already. I might say, please write me a script for a YouTube video discussing the issue of whether the use of ChatGPT by students is cheating. In fact, even better, I could feed the chatbot each and every one of the questions you ask me in the comments, and each of them would give me a new video new video script at no effort. And then I just turn on the camera and record. Job done. Skip all the preparation, research, thinking, and writing, and so on. As a viewer and possibly a subscriber of this channel, would you still watch my videos if I made them that way? It would certainly be a lot quicker for me. But do you think I'd be adding much value by simply reciting in my funny accent whatever the chatbot came up with? And for one more example that's more directly relevant to students, since that was the original question. If you are a student here, consider submitting your homework or exam work or even a dissertation, partly written by a chatbot. How happy would you be if the feedback you received on it also came from a chatbot? Okay, so you produce your work with a chatbot. The professor gives you feedback with a chatbot. We could all just go to the beach and let the computers talk to each other, right? Trouble is, I'm not sure it should be the student or the chatbot who should get the diploma. And also, I'm not sure it should be the professor or the chatbot who should get the salary. And in any case, thinking about the purpose of going to university, I don't think that much learning would take place in that setting, nor that the minds of either the students or the professor would be much enhanced by that interaction. What do you think about all this? I'm sure you have an opinion. Let us know in the comments below this video and include the words clock tower to signal that you watched until the end, which I always like to see. If you enjoyed this video, please stick a thumbs up on it. And by the way, you might enjoy this other recent video of mine on the topic of cheating. See you next time.